today. Happy birthday. Many greetings there for Mr. Kopel, Michael Kopel, who celebrated his birthday today. Well, this afternoon we're going to be exploring an open letter from Mr. Gregor Nassif, who seemed very disturbed about the failure of the Electoral Commission to provide continuous registration for the new voters. We're being told that it violates electoral law and democratic rights. This is the second such letter coming from Mr. Gregor. Talking about Gregor Nassif. I'm hoping I'll be able to talk to the chief election officer, or maybe the chairman of the commission, to address that issue. But it's very disturbing. Everybody wants to register to vote, but they're not able to at this time. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back quickly. Come back.
Club of Dominica and the Flow presents the original South and Punch All White Affair Fantasy Island. February 15th, that's Carnival Sunday from 3 p.m. at Zaman Park in Maho. Hosted by the one and only Ezra the Fort Machine alongside Imran Nerdy out of St. Lucia, LED Bad Artists out of Grenada, Trilogy, Rio, Swing Stars, and Man in Harmony. DJ Lineup, DJ Flip the Boss, DJ Snow, DJ Spawner, DJ Chang out of St. Lucia, Unstoppable DJ, DJ Alfie, the legendary DJ Cut, Singer Supreme, and Hollywood HD out of St. Lucia. Complimentary styles, Fishwater, and Punch until stops last. Proceeds go towards community development and also the parking available. Tickets available at Shop TM, Bullseye Pharmacy, Cubist Cut, Network Trading, and it's only $140 Stout and Punch, the only place to be this Carnival Sunday, February 15th. See you there.
All right, Dominic, over here is 1:18 in the afternoon. An open letter from Mr. Gregor Nassif. And I have my colleague from production here, Mr. Franklin Moses, who was obliged to do the reading this afternoon. Mr. Franklin Moses. Let's present the letter here from Mr. Gregor. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon to you, Matt. Good afternoon to Dominica. Good afternoon to our listeners across the globe.
Let's present the letter.
February 3, 2026. Dear Editor, 2 weeks have passed since my earlier letter highlighting that new eligible voters in Dominica have been unable to register because the required technology for the new registration system is not ready. The Electoral Commission did issue a statement in November announcing a temporary suspension of voter registration pending completion of the new system. But since then, there's been no updated public clarification on when continuous registration, as mandated by law, will effectively resume. This continuing uncertainty is troubling because it comes at the end of a long and often painful journey towards electoral reform. The passage of the electoral reform bills in March of 2025 was meant to turn the page, yet important elements of Sir Dennis Byron's recommendations, including campaign finance rules, residency requirements, safeguards against bribery and cheating, fair media access, and the use of state resources are not fully resolved and remain contentious. These issues already challenge the perception of free and fair election, and the ongoing inability of new voters to register poses an even greater threat. Central to all of these lies a fundamental question. How does the Prime Minister's constitutional power to call an election at any time coexist with the constitutional and statutory right of every eligible citizen to be registered and to participate in the democratic process? If, after nearly 11 months in which new eligible voters have been turned away because the system is not ready, a snap election were to be called, it would be an abomination of our democratic institutions, one that the government, opposition parties, and civil society should be actively working towards to prevent. The Prime Minister has recently invited young Dominicans to make their voices heard on the international airport and other national issues. The most meaningful way for their voices to be heard on the airport and on every other matter is through the ballot box. Yet, today, any eligible citizen seeking to register to vote, particularly for the first time, and likely younger voters, is being denied that constitutional and democratic right. What is equally remarkable is the lack of renewed urgency. Beyond the November announcement, the Commission has not provided a clear timeline or roadmap to restore continuous registration for first time voters. The government and opposition have not treated this as a national emergency for our democracy that it is. It is time for a nationwide cross party and civil society led campaign to ensure that every last eligible voter who wishes to register is allowed to do so, and that the breach of the law represented by the past 11 months is promptly and fully remedied. I therefore urge the Electoral Commission, the government of Dominica, and all opposition parties to speak clearly and urgently on this issue, to commit publicly to restoring continuous registration without further delay, and to ensure that, whenever the next election is called, every eligible Dominican has a fair and reasonable opportunity to be registered and to vote. Yours faithfully, Gregor Nassif.
Thank you for this fantastic job, as usual, Franklin Peter Moses. On the telephone with me, of course, in that letter there. Can you just pass on the letter for me, Franklin? The last page, the last page. We heard Mr. Gregor Nassif calling on civil society, the opposition, to commit publicly to restoring continuous registration without further delay, and to ensure that whenever the next general elections are called, or is called in Dominica, every eligible Dominican has had a fair and reasonable opportunity to be registered and to vote. Today, very early, I received a press release from the United Progressive Party, one of the opposition parties in Dominica. Was quick to respond, and on the telephone, and I'm sure you will add your voice, is Mr. Joshua Francis. Mr. Francis, good afternoon to you, sir.
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Matt, and good afternoon to your many listeners, both here in Dominica and abroad. Matt, let me clarify a point. I'm not too sure whether you are indicating that the press statement concerning electoral laws in Dominica, which was issued by the United Progressive Party this morning, is as a response to Mr. Gregor Nassif's second letter. Because if that is what you're attempting to convey, that would be incorrect. The United Progressive Party has had that issue of the suspension of registration of voters in Dominica on its agenda. We understand the importance, the legal importance, the electoral importance, and the constitutional importance of continuation of voters in Dominica. I, on behalf of the United Progressive Party and the people of Dominica, have had several discussions with members of the Electoral Commission in respect to the suspension of registration of voters. And as late as Monday, I had a conversation with a particular member of the Electoral Commission to understand what is happening. Now, Matt, I know that we have been calling to have the Electoral Commission resume or cause the resumption of registration of new voters in Dominica. But I want the public to understand what has gone down because we have to contextualize the situation. When the new laws were passed in March of last year, that is the electoral laws, the new Registration of Electors Act of Dominica 2025, it appears that there was a huge disconnect between the government of Dominica and the Electoral Commission. Because we must understand that under the old laws, registration took place at the homes of registering officers. Names were recorded in exercise books. With the new law, it provides for hardware and software materials. The government of Dominica, with a proper consultation and preparation, ran to Parliament while the Electoral Commission was reviewing the new piece of legislation. As it were, it was a bill. And by the time the law had become into effect and the government declaring that confirmation ought to have started on the 15th of October of last year, there was not in mind, there seemed to have been an oversight that the Electoral Commission was supposed to be armed with new hardware as well as software to facilitate the registration of voters under the new law.
I'm happy you're saying that, Mr. Francis, but they gave the indication that they were ready to go.
Well, that's what the government said. But again, what happened is a manifestation as to the kind of maladministration which we have had on our backs in Dominica. We have had a government that has been casual in respect to compliance to laws. We see it all over Dominica, particularly in respect to environmental projects or to infrastructural projects. So what has happened, Matt, is the government did not consult properly with the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission itself ought to have been more vigorous in stopping the government to go in Parliament, knowing that they were not ready for the new piece of legislation without a suspension of registration of voters. But to add to that, Matt, I don't know if you recall that when we had the first reading and the second reading, the Prime Minister and his leadership in Parliament constituted a subcommittee. Do you remember that, Matt?
Yep.
There was a committee to review the bill. And that committee would have been assigned with the responsibility to go through the bill and to draw to the attention of the leader in Parliament that the Electoral Commission was not ready. Because had they done their work, they ought to have known that the Electoral Commission did not have the necessary hardware and the software to facilitate the continuity in the registration of voters. So where are we now? Now, as explained very well by Mr. Gregory in his letter, and we want to commend him for putting out a very clear letter, 49 points and points that are truthful. Where are we now? Well, the problem is that after the Electoral Commission admitted that the electoral process had to be, the registration process had to be suspended, to date, we have not gotten a proper timeline. We have not gotten a roadmap as to when we are going to resume registration of voters in Dominica, and that is very troubling. And that is of great concern to many of us. More so in the United Progressive Party, we have been having those conversations with the electoral offices to know when the registration of voters will resume for us to inform the public. Of course, that would be the responsibility of the Electoral Commission and the Chief Election Officer office, but that is not happening. They are not forthcoming to tell us when there will be a resumption of registration of voters. In the meanwhile, we have a continuation of the breach of statutory laws in Dominica. Every day which passes, every single day, without registration of voters, we are having a breach of our laws. And I know that many people have been saying, well, let's go to court. Now, if we were to go to court, we were to file an action for judicial review, clearly and understandably, the Electoral Commission will respond. And what would they say to the court? They will say to the court what I have just said, that when the new laws were passed, they did not have the necessary hardware and software materials, and therefore they could not have allowed the continuity of registration of voters. But the court would more than likely ask the Electoral Commission to provide a timeline to the people of Dominica. And having said that, Matt, I did ask the question as to when we are going to have the resumption of registration of new voters in Dominica. And the answer was within the next 4 weeks to 6 weeks. And that is what I was told when I made that inquiry, that same inquiry as to when we would have the resumption of registration of voters.
How long ago was that? How long ago was that?
December.
In December, okay.
That was on Monday, Matt, that I got that information. But that same question was asked sometime in October of last year, and I was told that resumption of the registration of voters would be in December of 2025. That did not happen. Now I'm being told that should happen sometime in March. Do we wait to see whether that will happen? Should we go to court? Those are questions that we're asking. But Matt, ultimately it's for the public to understand that once again this government has failed the people of Dominica. Electoral reform issues have been on the national agenda for over 2 decades. And not only we did not get what we sought, as Mr. Nassim made it clear in his letter, there are several issues which continue to be contentious in the public space. This government refused, neglected, or failed to give us campaign finance legislation, and we know why. So what we are seeing here in Dominica is a violation of electoral laws. We're not seeing no urgency from the Electoral Commission to ensure that we resume the registration process. Matt, are you hearing that people have been trained over the weekend? Are you hearing that people are working overtime to facilitate the registration of voters? Did you get any such report?
I haven't heard at all. I intend to the chief election officer. Yes, I intend to.
Well, of course, Matt, maybe she will tell the nation whether her office is working overtime, whether she has caused persons to appear on Saturdays and Sundays to get the necessary training, whether they are going beyond 4 o'clock in the afternoon to ensure that the registration and assistant registering officers are being trained. Have we gotten any report as to whether the hardware required for the registration process have been purchased?
No report.
Is the software ready?
I will know.
So those are the questions we continue to ask the Electoral Commission. And we're not asking the Electoral Commission for a favor. It is mandated by law for the registration process to be in continuation. Section 17 of the Registration of Electors Act 2025 states clearly there shall be a continuation of new voters, of voter registration. And the law does not provide for any exception resulting from absence of hardware or software materials. The law does not provide for the suspension of the registration process resulting from the absence of training of registering officers. So it's a clear legal violation. It's unlawful, Matt.
So who's going to take the matter to court now? Who's going to take the matter to court? You have suggested that it can or it should be taken to court. Who's going to take it?
Well, Matt, in those things, one has to be very strategic, because where I stand, I tend to be very practical. First of all, should we take the matter to court? What is going to be the redress? What is going to be the result? What do I anticipate a court seeing in a situation like that? As stated, once we make the application, there will be a response. Will this matter be heard urgently? Will it be dealt with speedily? Well, more than likely, if we go for judicial review, there's a possibility we may ask for an injunction on the Electoral Commission to cause the resumption of registration of voters immediately. But let's be practical. If the registering officers are not trained to facilitate the registration of voters under the new system, a court of law will take that into consideration. A court of law will take into consideration whether the hardware, computers, or tablets have already been purchased. A court will consider whether the software has been fully installed, workable, and reliable. So as I said, more than likely the court would give a timeline. The court would say to the Electoral Commission, look, within the next 4 weeks, you should be ready. Within the next 3 weeks, you should be ready. So it is for the Electoral Commission to tell the people of Dominica whether it will be ready in the next 2 weeks, in the next 3 weeks, in the next 4 weeks. Not that such would excuse the violation of the law. The breach of the law has already taken place. It is for the people of Dominica to add this to another mountain of reasons why we need to reject this government. This government continues to be nonchalant, to be casual about the laws of Dominica. We live in a place where supremacy of the Constitution is supposed to prevail. But when you have a government which continually breaches laws, then naturally the country will eventually decay. And we are seeing the result of this type of governance in our day-to-day life in Dominica.
But I'm getting your point here. You said if it goes to court, they may ask the whole process to be delayed. But Joshua, what happens? In other words, this is an urgent matter. What should Dominicans do about it? Because you're basically indicating that the court will delay and maybe say you have 4 weeks to deal with the matter. What Dominica has to do right now? Dominicans seem to be waiting in vain.
Well, Matt, I did not say that the court will cause a delay. What I'm saying is the court will take into consideration the practical reasons for where we are. Where we are in respect to the disruption and suspension of registration of voters is because of the maladministration in Dominica. The government of Dominica did not take the time to prepare the nation, prepare the Electoral Commission and the Electoral Chief Elections.
But I'm happy you said that, because one of the commission, I remember Wayne James saying that they were not ready, but they insisted they were ready. And look at what is happening now.
Well, Wayne James and Mr. Hillary Shillingford are now being vindicated, because I remember clearly they told the public that the Electoral Commission was not ready to allow the new law to prevail. And the words have come to pass. It is clear that the Electoral Commission was not ready. Because once the new law took effect, the Electoral Commission was not armed with the necessary hardware to facilitate the new registration process. Because keep in mind, Matt, under the new laws, the Electoral Commission is supposed to issue voter ID cards. Now, under the old law, that was not in existence, and therefore a registering officer had no reason to take pictures of new registrants. Under the new law, anybody who wishes to register to vote must be captured via photograph. And for that to happen, it means the software must be available and the hardware must be available. And the Electoral Commission did not have those facilities when the law was put into effect. So naturally, the consequence would be the suspension of registration of voters. But the problem that most of us have, if not all, with the Electoral Commission is that there seems to be no urgency in correcting that matter. We understand that the government is responsible for where we are right now, but nonetheless, the Electoral Commission and the Chief Elections Officer appear not to be working with any urgency to call the resumption of registration of voters so that the young people and persons who had never voted and now eligible to vote can register to vote in Dominica. Now, that is compounded with other problems with the electoral process in Dominica, Matt. You're hearing complaints, continuous complaints about the confirmation process. In places like the Kalinago territory, as an example, you have enrollment offices or confirmation offices being far and wide apart. So, for example, for the Kalinago territory, we have an enrollment office in Gullet River serving the people from Sineku to Point. And there are people who do not have readily access to transportation, and they're finding it very difficult to travel from Sineku to Gullet River for the purpose of confirmation. That is in addition to the problem of many Dominicans not having a valid ID. They do not have driver's license, social security cards, or a valid passport. And that is where the Dominica Labour Party is also taking advantage, because they have the financial resource and they have been on the ground facilitating persons who do not have IDs. They're making passports for persons who are less fortunate.
I'll tell you what, one of your critics say, man, Joshua's already indicated that it's unlawful. So why doesn't Joshua, a lawyer, and other lawyers bring action against the Labour Party? We're just talking, and we're doing nothing.
Well, Matt, I am very practical. And as I said, the matter can go to court. By the time we get a couple of lawyers to prepare the court documents, a few days would have elapsed. Then we take the matter to court. The question is, what can the court say to us? The court will take into consideration the reality on the ground. The court cannot tell and will not tell the Electoral Commission to resume registration of voters the following day. The court will take into consideration their response to our application. And I can almost be certain that their response will be what I have just said to the public. That the new law came into effect, but they were caught with their pants down. Talking about being caught with pants down. That is what the government of Dominica did to the Electoral Commission. They put the law into effect without understanding that for the law to be effective and to facilitate continuation of voter registration, that the Electoral Commission is supposed to have been provided with the resource to get hardware and software materials and to train the registration officers and assistant registration officers to facilitate voter registration. The court will take that into consideration. A court is practical, Matt. A judge is a reasonable person. And should we get any results from the court, more than likely the court will provide a timeline by which the Electoral Commission would resolve that matter. So it is for the people of Dominica to understand that the government of Dominica is responsible for that situation. The Electoral Commission also has to take responsibility. And we know how this Electoral Commission operates. We know very well this Electoral Commission has not and appear not to be independent. And we know it is because there are 3 commissioners who seem to be doing the government's bidding. So they themselves will not resign. It would be nice if they wake up tomorrow morning and to speak against the government of Dominica for the current situation that we have in regards to suspension of registration of voters. But that will not happen. And that reflects the general problem we have in Dominica, where institutions which are supposed to put the people's interest before political interests have been compromised. And I'm not hesitating to say that the Electoral Commission of the Commonwealth of Dominica generally has been compromised.
Joshua Francis, thank you. Very big response there from the spokesperson of the UPP, Mr. Joshua Francis, responding to the failure of the government to provide for continuous registration of the electoral law and democratic rights. 143, hello, talk to me. Sorry about that. We'll take your phone calls at this time. A lot of people want to comment. The numbers are 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257. 305, the overseas line, 432-9624. Are you there, caller? Yes.
Yes, Matt, I am. Good afternoon to you and your listeners, Matt.
Good afternoon to you, sir.
Matt, I was listening to Mr. Joshua Francis, and I hear him saying that each time he asks the Electoral Commission or the electoral officer question, they tell him in six times, whatever. Is it by word of mouth? Or did they give him a word of mouth response? Or is it a thing he gets on paper? That's what I'm...
I suspect it's word of mouth.
That's what is happening. Nothing happens with word of mouth. You know, if you give me a paper, and this is what if you so suspect that much word of mouth, then there's nothing that will happen. It is just continue like that. I think Mr. Francis should have a better understanding and to ask them to give it to him in writing. And when he asks for it in writing, then something should happen.
Good afternoon to you on the telephone. Yes. It's unfair to the people of Dominica. Are you there? Yes. Hello. Yes.
How are you doing?
How are you doing, sir?
But I understand what Joshua is saying, but in the same instance, I think you take the case to the court, let the court set a date by which the Electoral Commission should be ready to accept the registrations. And so, Matt, in that way, if the case is in the court, if at all there's an election, and then you file an election petition, I think the court hearing the election petition would take all those things into consideration. So it's not just a matter of practicality, but you need to register a case so that if in future you need to file some sort of election petition, then you have that case in the court. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you very much on the telephone. Yes, hello, talk to me.
Yes, good afternoon, Matt Bell to you.
Afternoon to you, my brother. How you doing?
I'm good. Isaac Baptiste here. Matt, I hate to stick to issues that I'm not qualified fully in, especially in response to professionals in the field, like Joshua friend, who just spoke to you, the Electoral Commission and the issue of the non-registration of new voters as provided for in law. My layman understanding of the issues are these. He seems to suggest that taking the matter to court may not achieve much, in that the court will likely decide, well, let me give the Electoral Commission time and give them a time frame to do X, Y, Z. Let's look at the issues that are there involved here. The Electoral Commission under the Constitution of Dominica is responsible for managing elections and conducting elections in Dominica. The Constitution provides for all legislation related to election must be reviewed by the Electoral Commission. So the law that was passed last year, really, electoral reform and registration of voters, was reviewed by the Electoral Commission. So the Electoral Commission knew the provisions of the law and what it is that was necessary to implement the provisions of the law. So the law passed, and they are now implementing the law. It is now months, almost approaching a year since the law was passed. And the Electoral Commission, knowing the contents and provisions of the law, has done nothing. Well, it has not met the requirements for new registration. The Electoral Commission is focusing or has focused on the issue of confirmation. You saw they did everything to facilitate persons who are coming down for Creole Festival to get them confirmed. However, the very law that they are not observing with respect to registration of new voters provides that, or the House of Assembly Act falls on the Constitution for the Prime Minister to be able, and he keeps saying, yes, I have the right to call elections at any time. If an election is called, the law provides for the old list, that is the list that was adopted after passage of the legislation, to be used with any persons who have since registered or confirmed for the purposes of that election. My layman understanding is this. If the Prime Minister decides to exercise his option under the Constitution, then the Electoral Commission has to use, one, the existing, that is before completion of the 12-month period, one, to use the old list, two, persons who are since confirmed after passage of the legislation, and three, new persons who got registered. Why it is my problem with Mr. Joshua Francis' argument and observation is this. Why did the Commission not give priority to the persons who have to be newly registered, knowledgeable and of the fact that those who are already registered to be confirmed can exercise their right to vote, even though the Prime Minister calls an election prior to the end of the one-year period, so that they can still vote. But those who are not registered will not be able to vote. In common sense says that they should have given priority for new voters. Also, if it is a question of computerization, can't you collect the information, let people register, and then you input the information in your computer system once you get that matter resolved? So I have a problem. If the matter goes to court, what I will be, if I didn't know I'm not a lawyer, what I think, what should be requested of the court, is to put a stay on the Electoral Commission, preventing them from supervising any election under the law unless they, one, reinstate complete registration, and two, give reasonable time for persons who are not registered to be registered. This is my layman understanding of a matter going to court on this. It's not as to what the court will say. It's what the law says and what is reasonable What is reasonable? The reasonable issue I see is that persons who are registered right now under the old law have a right to vote if election is called, because the law provides for that. Persons who are not registered cannot vote if they're not allowed the provision to vote. The responsibility is in the Electoral Commission to manage and supervise election consistent with the law. The consistency of the law is that you have not allowed those who have not registered to register. So therefore, you should not be allowed to manage and supervise any election without you have given that opportunity. And I am again saying, I'm speaking as a layman person. If the matter goes as an election petition, we know what has happened to election petitions in Dominica. So it should not go in as an election petition. It matter should go in a manner that it can reach the CCJ, so that the CCJ can decide. And maybe the best way is the question about constitutional review, and the law has to be right of the Electoral Commission to supervise an election or bar them from supervising an election unless and until they satisfy that provision of the law with respect to complete registration. My layman understanding. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I have Mr. Gregor on the line. He says he's in London, the UK at this time. Let me see if we can call him on the WhatsApp. I can try to facilitate Mr. Gregor at this time. I just got a text from him there to indicate that he may be out of state. Hey, sir, how you doing?
I'm good, Matt. How are you?
Good. Well, we are reviewing there your second letter, open letter, and everybody's talking about it. Why did you decide, Mr. Gregor, just asking a general question, to write these two letters there, one after the other? You seem very concerned.
Well, yes. I mean, it was the first time I decided to register to vote, as I had expressed. I was out of Dominica for roughly 40 years, and it's been 15 years since I've been back.
15.
And 15.
Okay.
And I don't think I was ever here
during an election.
For an election. And at this time, I just thought, it's long overdue that I registered.
Okay.
So I went to register, and I was basically told that I was not able to register at the time because the system was not yet ready.
Mm-hmm.
And I spoke to some parliamentarians, some friends, some persons on the commission, and I understood, and I was quite shocked, that this has been the case for the better part of 10 months, since March of last year. And it was a concern for me, particularly because there has been quite a bit of concern and tension over the reforms and the perception of elections being free and fair. And this issue is fundamental to the perception of an election being free and fair. So I decided to write. I have not heard a response from anyone, so I wrote again. And I am quite stunned in terms of why this is only now being spoken about in any significant way. So I don't understand opposition or the government or the commission has not been a lot more proactive on the communication on this issue. So that's it.
So you're basically saying that the opposition and the other civic groups should be, in other words, they're louder on that issue.
They should be all over this. I mean, if an election were called, this would be an issue that would derail completely the perception of a free and fair process. So yes.
Somebody was suggesting.
So I don't understand why it's only being now.
Yeah, I'm just asking.
Go ahead, Matt.
I'm just asking the question. Somebody suggested it earlier Why no? And you just explained earlier, but
Mhm.
are you concerned about those persons who may have to come in to vote really economic citizens? Are you concerned about that as well?
Absolutely not. I saw your text
Yes.
about
Somebody suggested that.
me being an agent. I want to be absolutely clear that I have never been an authorized agent for citizenship. So there is still confusion, and we are in development that is approved as a qualifying investment for citizenship.
Okay.
But we do not process citizenship transactions. You must be an authorized agent. But to suggest that this has anything to do with economic citizens is a bit nuts, Matt. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay. So again, when do you expect any responses? You said you have never received a response from any commission or any government official. Do you expect any?
I am not expecting a response. I think the public needs statements clarifying exactly why this has occurred, when it will be solved, and what is the impact in terms of when an election is called. So we've had a period of 10 months plus now where new voters are not able to register. So how is that actually going to be remedied? When and how? I think that there should be very clear statements about that.
All right, Mr. Nassif, you took 3 minutes to talk to me. I know you have to return to your meeting. So when you get back to Dominica, let's have a conversation, okay? Thank you, sir.
Sure,
Thank you.
Matt. Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Ciao.
He said he had 3 minutes out of his busy schedule in the UK. Because I texted him earlier saying that we wanted to hear from him directly. Mr. Gregor Nassif. Dominica is 158. Hello, talk to me, yes?
How are you?
How are you?
Matt, I'm doing very well. My name is Randy Rodimac.
Okay.
And I first want to say I thank Joshua Francis for his upfront voice on important matters that affect the people of Dominica as an opposition party. It seems that he does come out as the lead opposition voice on those very important issues. However, I have a sharp disagreement with him. And I'm not a lawyer by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not a lawyer at all. But I don't like that if I were to hire Joshua Francis as a lawyer, that he would already conclude what the magistrate and judge would possibly say. No, I know that's part of the analysis of the case. But here's my thoughts on that. And I heard Mr. Baptist, and I thought Mr. Baptist is along the lines that I'm thinking. The law provides for continuous registration of people. And you heard Gregor a while ago. People who need to be registered to vote are not able to vote. Yes, the current law passed does say that the Prime Minister has the wherewithal in law to call the election anytime. That has to be presupposed only on the fact that the confirmation process is not complete, not that new registrants are not registered. Because the new law literally makes more provision for new confirmation than existing people who would like to be registered newly. Now, it is beyond me to think that you would take a matter like that to court and not as well argue that under the circumstances then somehow the court has to issue a statement at the least that would thing like the Prime Minister cannot call election with a certainly breaking of the law, because the fact that people cannot be registered to vote, Matt, is a critical area, and it is breaking the law, because the law says, both the old and new law says, that there must be continuous registration of voters. If you have not registered voters for 10 months, and you have now an election called, it means that you have to revert to an old list. Usually when election is called, there is a time frame between the calling of the election and the nominations or whatever it's called, when people can go into register. If the system cannot register new people, Matt, it means that the election is already flawed. Even before it's called, it's flawed.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see why a judge will not say we cannot go to an election that is already flawed before it started. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Because it means that you are eliminating the people who would be first-time voters from voting. It's not even people who are on the list who need to be reconfirmed, you know. Because if they are on the list and they are not reconfirmed, they are on the list. And by the law, you can go back to the old list and they would vote. So I would vote. Gregor wouldn't vote. And hundreds of others wouldn't vote. What you'd be doing is disenfranchising them even before the election ballots are counted, because they did not have an opportunity to say yes or no to whoever the elected representatives are. And I believe that taking them out of the court is putting your foot in the door legally to say, this is where we are. And if that is not done, it means that the election, if any elections are called without that being corrected, then flawed. Now, I don't see what difficulty for a lawyer to argue in the court of law and get a judge to rule. That would put the incumbent on the back foot. Let's make no mistake. Let's make no mistake. The Electoral Commission and the government of Dominica is in cahoots, right? And there's no doubt about that. They are in cahoots for what is happening now. The Electoral Commission is padding up the Dominica Labour Party in office. And the only people that can stop that, and we must not relent, we must not even give ourselves an excuse not to do what we have to do, is the people of Dominica. And we have to do it from all perspectives, from the perspective of the court, from the perspective of our voices, from the perspective of the streets matters.
So you agree with Mr. Greg when he says the opposition other groups have been too silent on the issue?
But you don't have to say that, Matt, is a fact. And here is Mr. Francis, very soft on the issue. He calls it a pragmatic approach. He says you have to be pragmatic because that is what the judge will rule. Who says that? I don't know who says that. You have to go to the court and argue your point to the place where you are convinced that you are correct. If you are already failing before you go to the court, then you're right. Joshua's right. Joshua must go to the court, but somebody else should. Somebody else should, and the opposition is quiet on it. And that's why first I commend him for being upfront to it, because he has been. The other political leaders are quiet, somewhere in a corner hiding and making a few snipe shots every now and then. Joshua is at the forefront of this. But even being at the forefront of it, he is mild and he is already conceding that there's nothing we can do. We just have to wait for the Electoral Commission and the government to do what they want. Who does that? Who sits down and waits for people who are obviously deliberating doing what they want to do? Who sits to wait for them to correct their action when you already know they're not going to correct? They have no intentions of correcting the action. So if you sit down there and do nothing, all you're saying is go ahead and do what you want. We will take what you want. We will take what you do, and expect people to go to vote, which means that Mr. Francis is saying that the new people who could not vote from March last year to now will not have a voice to say, we do not want this crap to happen anymore. And it means that if we can disenfranchise them so boldly, like I've heard in many other courts, in many other quarters, in many other arguments, the election is already fraudulent before it starts, Bonje. And if it's fraudulent before it starts, then why would a court just say, okay, give these people time to do that, the court has also to see, when you do the proper argument, that if we have people here who cannot register, not that they want to register, they cannot register. And the Electoral Commission is saying, we cannot register you because we do not have a system to register you, which is absolute garbage, right? Anybody who's managing any Kilolo will know that you cannot tell people not to come and buy because your cash register not working. I have an old cash register, so don't come and buy now. Come and buy next month when my cash register is working. I mean, who does that matter? Right? It is that the commission and government is in cahoots, and they will do anything and everything to reduce the electoral list to who they think should be on it rather than everybody who should be allowed to vote. And the people of Dominica has to brush aside some of the stuff that we're getting and do what we need to do, even if we have to present a matter per se, in an individual case, so that the courts know that there are some people who are interested in doing that. And for example, I am willing to do that. I'll tell you that. When I see a lawyer who's willing to take the case, I will do that. I will take the Electoral Commission to court for that, as well as the combination of the fact that any time an election is called now, before those things are corrected, we already know it's going to be flawed. And I'm going to find a lawyer. If I don't find one here, I'll find one somewhere else who will take the matter to court. And we can't sit down there and say, well, that's what the judge is going to rule. We have to push some people backwards, Matt. We have to force people's hands to do what they're supposed to do because they have not been willing to do it. Okay?
All right, Mr. Pastor Rodney says he's willing to take the matter of the court if you could find a lawyer with him to go to the court. Saying that Mr. Francis and others are a little passive, too soft. 207 interesting calls here. This electoral reform has failed the citizens and has, in fact, further undermined democracy as citizens who now wants to register are being denied. I saw what Mr. Greg was writing of the letters, but the matter of no new registration has been publicly discussed by the UWP, both in town hall meetings and the press conferences. They may need to ramp up the pressure. This electoral reform has failed citizens and has in fact further undermined democracy as citizens who now wants to register are being denied and disenfranchised. We're going to take a break and we'll come back. We'll come back, Dominic, after this.
In London, Goldwyn is now retired and back living in Dominica enjoying his pension. He too shook a smile so we can see the gold teeth and too shook a yarn. I met him coming out of Flosses with the help of some staff carrying different foods, drinks, and meats to his vehicle. Myself too fast to go and ask the man what's up. Is their story start? And when we finish to have our words, so that Kadimo de San Dominic per fini la hamwe. I said, Goldwyn, speak in English, don't force it. Then he said, I shop with intelligence, yeah? At Flosses, you get the most reasonable prices. For the bag flour, rice, sugar, milk, beers, soft drinks, water, rum, and so much more. Prices and quantities to fit your needs, mate. Because you just come down and want to tell me what I know about Flosses already. That's where I shop. It's not you alone that want to save money but still get the quality goods. That's right. And if you're listening to this ad, go and check out Flosses for yourself. Next to the Roseau Market, you can't miss it.
Now opened on Sunday from 10 a.m. to 1.
Rotary Club of Dominica and the Flow presents the original Salt and Punch All White Affair, Fantasy Island. February 15th, that's Carnival Sunday from 3 p.m. at Zaman Park in Maho. Hosted by the one and only Ezra the Fun Machine, alongside Emmanuel out of St. Lucia, LED band artists out of Grenada, Trilogy, Rio, Sweet Stars, and Man in Harmony. DJ lineup, DJ Flip the Boss, DJ Snow, DJ Spawner, DJ Cheng out of St. Lucia, Unstoppable DJ, DJ Afi, the legendary DJ Cut, Sting the Supreme, and Hollywood HP out of St. Lucia. Complimentary South, Fishwater, and Punch until stops last. proceeds go towards community development and also it's parking available. Tickets available at Shop DM, Bullseye Pharmacy, Cupid Cut, Network Trading, and it's only $140 East. Stout and Punch, the only place to be this Carnival Sunday, February 15th. See you there.
You asked for your mass count in 2026, so we got it fixed. It's a mass count open house every Thursday in this carnival season at the Lot in Paulisville. Jam time, 8 p.m. sharp. Let's have one and take pleasure in some of the new 2026 calypsos. We are meeting you halfway with only $10. $10 for entry. Featuring 2026 Calypso finalists and your usual Mascam family. Come on, come on. Let's speed up at the Lot in Paulisville this Thursday, 8 p.m. sharp with good parking, good Calypso, and good ambiance. Expressing gratitude to Q95 FM Radio, Luxurious Loose, VF Inc., DNO, Singola Bloomvis Williams Law Chamber, Comsi TV, Glenn Ducre Law Chamber, Vibes Radio, Joshua Francis Law Chamber, The Lot Bar and Grill, Caribbean Paradise Realty, and Crumbs Bakery.
Oh boy, a lot of text messages here. Good afternoon, you man. I'm baffled at the reasoning of that lawyer that you spoke to, I mean Joshua, as to why this present matter should not be taken to court. His reasoning is suspect and weak. Lawyers argue law, judges interpret and apply law. Your job as a lawyer is to bring the matter to court and argue the matter before the court. Then let the court decide. What if the court ruled that the matter should be resolved in 2 weeks or even a month? Would that be to your detriment? Just a question here. We have more calls. It's 222. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Mark. How are you, my friend?
That's Alvin Thomas. Good afternoon to you.
Certainly, that's the man himself, Alvin Thomas. Mark, good afternoon to you and your listeners. I'm listening to this conversation, and it blows my mind, really. And as a result, I'm forced to call. First of all, let me compliment and say thank you to Mr. Nassif for giving voice to this very important matter. I'm one of those, when I called previously, have called on the various civic organizations, the business sector, the church, the trade union, to speak up on issues. And I am very pleased and to note that Mr. Nassif, as a business person in Dominica, has championed this issue and has taken it up. So I really want to say commendation to him. Having said that, Matt, let me just, for the benefit of your listeners, explain as best as I can what I see unfolding as it relates to this particular matter. First of all, let me begin by stating that the Constitution of Dominica, the Constitution is the supreme law of the Commonwealth of Dominica. And by that I mean, if a particular law is passed in the Parliament and it appears to be inconsistent with the Constitution in some shape or form, that law is null and void. The Constitution takes precedence. Let me refer, Mark, to Section 38 of our Constitution, which speaks to responsibility for elections. It is outlined there. I will not read the entire section. There's Section 38, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of that particular section. Section 4 of that Section 38 states, the Electoral Commission may make such reports to the President concerning matters for which it is responsible under Section 51. Under this section, or any draft bill or instrument that is referred to it under Section 51 of the Constitution, as it may think fit. And if the Commission so requests, in any such report other than a report on a draft bill or instrument, that report shall be laid before the House. That is pretty straightforward. So let's go to Section 51 that is referenced in that particular section. Section 51 of the Constitution, scrutiny of electoral legislation. Every proposed bill and every proposed regulation or other instrument having the force of law relating to the registration of electors for the purpose of electing representatives or to the election of representatives and senators shall, you get the word, shall be referred to the Electoral Commission and to the Chief Election Officer at such time I shall give them sufficient opportunity to make comments thereon before, you hear the word, before the bill is introduced in the House, or, as the case may be, the regulations or other instrument is made. That's Section 51 of the Constitution. Remember, I started off by saying the Constitution is the supreme law.
Mm-hmm.
It begs me, therefore, Matt, and let me just refer as well to, while I'm in the Constitution, to section 117 of the Constitution, supreme law that I referred to. The Constitution is the supreme law of Dominica, and subject to the provision of this Constitution, if any other law is inconsistent with this Constitution shall prevail, and the other law shall, to the extent of the inconsistency, be void. Matt, I am of the view, and I think one or two of your callers hinted to that this is a matter that has to be tackled on several fronts. It has to be tackled on the legal front, and the matter should be taken to the court immediately. It has to be tackled on the local front, and there has to be more voices, more protests on this particular matter. There has to be meetings around the country, the entire breadth of Dominica, and advocate on this particular matter. Because it seems to me from what has happened, there was a violation of Section 51 of the Constitution, meaning that there was no consultation, because if there was proper consultation, Section 51 and Section 38.4, if there was proper dialogue and consultation with the Commission, the Commission would have been able to point out all these areas. And the matter would have, whoever, before the matter goes to Parliament to become law, all of those matters would have been addressed. So it is clear that Section 51 of the Constitution and Section 38.4 were violated. So the matter has to go to the court. And the court now has to ask of the Commission, will Section 38.4 and 51 of the Constitution observed in dealing with this particular matter? And as one of your callers said, the court will make a determination. And the matter has to be voiced throughout the length and breadth of Dominica. At the end of the day, I always refer to the CCJ's report. Elections are the central element of any democracy. If your election is screwed, if your election is not conducted and the process is flawed, then you have problems. Even before the government is sworn in and take office and ministers appointed and prime ministers appointed, if the election is flawed from day one, the entire process is in jeopardy. Now let me just deal with another matter. We heard it being said that the Prime Minister can call a snap election, which is true. The Commission has not issued a published list, a revised list. I heard the Chief Elections Officer on your program recently said such a list will be published sometime in March or some thereafter. I'll call the exact date. If a list is published, say, at the end of March or June or whatever that is, okay? And the Prime Minister decides to call a snap election, the list that is going to be used for the purposes of the election is that last published list, not the list of 2022 that was used for the 22 elections, meaning that the old list. It means the list that is going to be used for the election is the last published list, which is the list now that would have been published in March or June, which would have contained now folks who have reconfirmed and now constitute a revised published list. In other words, you can't have two lists. You can't have the list that was used for the 22 general election and the new list now, which the Commission is going to issue as a result of the work that they're doing now. That new list is what the list that's going to be used. So if persons are not able to get registered, think of the number of persons that are going to be disenfranchised. And that is why it is important that everyone should make it their business to reconfirm. Everyone should make it their business to reconfirm. And the question of the registration of voters must be implemented immediately.
Don't you think that going back and cleaning up the list would have made it so much easier?
I'm sorry?
I said, don't you think if we had gone back and just re-register, started from a clean slate, would that be a lot easier?
Absolutely. That too would have been maybe a better option. But again, Matt, it goes back to the point that I made earlier, that in matters such as this, the Section 51 of the Constitution must be observed, and it appears that has not been observed. So let me kind of end, Mark, and say though that next month, as some of us may be forgetting, next month, the 19th of next month, will mark 1 year since 25 citizens of Dominica stood up for Dominica as it relates to the same electoral reform and this election matter that we're discussing. 25 individuals will be a year before the courts, charged and brought before the court, and charged under 18th century or whatever the law is, Riot Act. And it seems to me that it is the opportune time for Dominicans again to take this matter into their hands and say enough is enough. We're not having this nonsense anymore.
Thank you, Alvin Thomas, former CSA General Secretary here. We're going to come back, Dominica, after this. There's more.
Rotary Club of Dominica and the Flow presents the original South and Punch All White Affair Fantasy Island. February 15th, that's Carnival Sunday from 3 p.m. at Zaman Park in Maho. Hosted by the one and only Eldred the Fun Machine alongside Emmanuel out of St. Lucia, LED band artists out of Grenada, Trilogy, Rio, Sweet Stars, and Man in Harmony. DJ Lineup, DJ Flip the Boss, DJ Snow, DJ Spawner, DJ Chen out of St. Lucia, Unstoppable DJ, DJ Afi, the legendary DJ Cut, Stinker Supreme, and Hollywood HP out of St. Lucia. Complimentary styles, fish water, and punch until stocks last. Proceeds go towards community development and also get parking available. Tickets available at Shop TM, Bullseye Pharmacy, Cubist Cut, Network Trading, and it's only $140 East dollars. South and Punch, the only place to be this Carnival Sunday, February 15th. See you there.
All right, Dominic, over here, 449-3095-96 and 97. I have Mr. Andy Jolly who wants to add his piece to the conversation. Are you there?
How are you doing?
How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? I see you're very
Good,
interested
good. Well,
in this afternoon conversation.
I think it's a very interesting conversation to have, Matt. And the reason why I wanted to chime in is simply be put, I listened to the letter that Franklin read, and he did that so eloquently. I must congratulate him on it. Uh, and I said there was something wrong with the letter. First of all, the letter stated that they want to make sure every eligible voter is able to vote. And every eligible voter should technically be anybody who's registered to vote, capable and willing. The problem that we've had in Dominica is determining who the eligible voters are and making sure that financial constraints are not beyond those people in order to make sure they can get to the voting polls. But one of the things that bugs me we should really concentrate on is we and many of your callers, Matt, that called in have the expectation that we can actually have a fair election in Dominica. And I want people to think about this important point. How are we expected to have a fair election in Dominica when the politician or politicians who are in power are the ones who determine what a free and fair election is? And not only that, they're the ones who determine or who push what they will do to create a free and fair elections or what they won't do to create a free and fair election. So the question is, how, as our expectations as Dominicans, are we allowed to have a free election or fair election in Dominica when the politicians who are in power, keep in mind, these people are in power, they obviously have an ulterior motive or a bias motive to stay in power. Therefore, they are creating the situation where it benefits them to have the environment in which that they can foster or they will remain in power. So as Dominicans, I think we will possibly never ever have a free and fair election as long as we have Mr. Roosevelt scared out there, because we all understand that this is not something he's wanted. He has told us before, no law and constitution. And I heard one of your callers call in a little while ago and talk about what the Constitution provides for and what the laws provide for. But this is not a man that believes in laws or believes in the Constitution. So how are we expected to have one, Matt?
Interesting question. Andy Jolly, thank you very much. Thank you, as always. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Of course, that was Andy Jolly giving us 2 pence of the whole issue this afternoon there. I see a quote from Mr. Marvin Sheldon Boland says, "We demand a complete re-registration." The weaklings are talking about reconfirmation. We need a clean list, huh? This year, without a mass protest and demonstration of 10,000 patriots, Dominicans are done with that. As we heard from Mr. Jolly, Mr. Skerritt will not allow an election in Dominica free and fair. 229, hello, talk to me, yes? Uh-huh. Are you there, caller? Yes. Caller, are you there?
Matt.
Yes, I'm here.
Duncan people get ready to get.
Was that Duncan?
When you call them out to put this not a home, so how you going to get carried out? Tell me.
Well, I'm sure you would you be there if they call it? If they
Why
call
not? Why not? When you not a home, Matt, you come on the street, get carried out, and I don't know tell them they're moving there, even by the ballot. You say that already. Even though by the ballot, you're not in the league. And make it all means from not to come out from there.
Thank you. All right, thank you. We'll take some more phone calls after this one, 2:30. It's 2:30.
It's a shame. It's a shame. It's a shame. The way we got take control in the game. When you know why the other countries going more than we. Never once on the attack. Always up like Baccarat.
Somebody said some of these lawyers in Dominica never cease to amaze me with their incompetence. This is exactly why Dominica is in the mess it is, in my humble opinion. These people are not ready to lead. They may have some other dubious desires, but it's clearly not to be true teachers who serve the people and the Constitution of Dominica.
The man that's been for too long, but making no fall. All we do is choking, making noise, making nothing. The man that's been for too long, but making no show.
Someone says, man, good afternoon to you. Very interesting program. I hope that's not the intention of Thompson and Joshua to help Skerrit win another election. I say so because one is mute on the matter and the other is lenient.
Mark my words, mark my words, mark my words, mark my words.
We do not want to disenfranchise Dominicans abroad, and now he is disenfranchising Dominicans at home. The electoral process should be halted immediately, and the Prime Minister must resign. He has caused too much disrepute in this country. That's a WhatsApp message. Actually, try to get to Mr. Duncan. It's really one tick. Maybe he's out of state. I will try to get to the chief election officer. No response just yet.
Just for him. The man that's been for too long, but making no song. For him. Just for him. The man that's been for too long, but making no song.
I have an idea. I have an idea how we can tackle that confirmation on a different angle. So, and that idea came about because many people have been approaching me and telling me of the difficulties
in registering
that they've had in reconfirming. So they go to the polling station, and depending on who is there or what day, whatever the mood is, they tell them something different. But the idea is they are not getting registered or reconfirmed. So the solution is simple as that. We tackle every constituency, hamlet by hamlet. We go en masse. All the elders and the stalwarts of every constituency, we make a time, we make a schedule. So Saturday coming at 9 o'clock, we meet in, let's say, Fort Ney, or we meet in wherever, and we're going, everybody from that hamlet, we are going together to register. So we are going peacefully. We're not going to make any trouble, any noise. We're not going with no bacchanal. We're just going peacefully to accompany the members of that constituency to be reconfirmed. Okay? And I'm saying this because we know there's strength in numbers. Again, if you feel you can intimidate one person, then there's a whole group of 20 or 30 people there, quietly waiting for these maybe 10, 15 people to be reconfirmed. And if we tackle it like that, I don't think we can ever meet anybody in any reconfirmation center who would intimidate anybody, because there's a crowd outside there of supporting people quietly, peacefully, just waiting for these 15 people to be confirmed. And if we tackle it like that, we make a schedule. So this week is this Hamlet, next week another, or next day, or whatever, 2 days later, however the schedule is, we go Hamlet by Hamlet. Okay? And the idea is strength in numbers. You cannot intimidate a whole crowd of people. Okay? Again, peacefully, I reiterate, peacefully. But it would be very foolish to try now to say, you cannot register, go there, because we come in prepared. We come in for a list in our hand, and we know what names are on the list, where they have been voting before. And if they cannot be ready, give us a very good reason why you cannot register that person or these people. But we cannot just be sitting back and let Roosevelt Skerrit think he alone have brain in Dominica. We have allowed him to fool us too many times. We have brain too, and if this is the plan that you have, well, we have an alternative plan as well. Okay, so that is my idea, and I just hope it is taken on, because I know it can work. And this is a message to all in every constituency. Gather your people, get your list, and go to get registered. Because again, I always say, we always be making our noise and we're excited now because whatever. But if we are not on the list, we cannot vote. So the whole idea is to get all our supporters registered on that list. So when they call the snap election, we are ready. Thank you and good afternoon.
And you know we don't like that. Kind of happy. I'm very pleaded. We cannot go anymore.
Somebody agrees what the sister says is a brilliant idea. Strength in numbers.
The man that's been for too long, but making no door. Somebody holding, just holding.
Already 2:37 in the afternoon. Talk to me.
Matt, good afternoon to you and all Dominicans. Matt, I like to call it what it is, eh? You know what it is, Matt? We have rotting fishes in the institutions of Dominica, and they need to be eradicated. The rotting fishes that do the work, the sabotage, the disenfranchisement of Dominicans, Matt, for Roosevelt Skerrit. They need to be eradicated from those institutions. Matt, that letter from Mr. Nassif, he does not only speak for himself, but it carries the weight for all the young people who need to be registered and cannot do so. That's why they should join the campaign to see to it that they get registered, because that is a disenfranchisement of the people who need to be registered and who need to be confirmed. Matt, this is a clear violation of the democratic rights of Dominicans. It is voter suppression. It is sabotage of the registration process in Dominica. This issue of electoral reform has been on the table for so long, to the tune where Roosevelt Skerrit paid $750,000 to Justice Byron for recommendations, etc., which I, like many Dominicans, considered it was a waste of the taxpayers' money, given the fact that Dominica has a full bar of high-profile lawyers. So you want to tell me none of those lawyers could do the work that Justice Byron did for a fraction of what was paid to him, Matt? So you see the lavish waste of the taxpayers' money? And when it is done, we still can't get the reforms, Matt? When it seems that those reforms have created a twisted bowel in the electoral office. Many other Caribbean islands have implemented reforms for their citizens, and it did not seem so difficult. So what is the reason that registration and confirmation have become such a tedious and laborious task in Dominica? Why, Matt? Matt, the electoral office where some of the commissioners are passport sellers. And that same electoral office has been part of the government's fraud machine for stealing elections in Dominica. Matt, why aren't we opening up our eyes to see that it is time for all Dominicans, all opposition parties to coalesce their efforts and make the electoral office and Roosevelt's carrot understand that another election will not take place in Dominica until every registerable Dominican is registered and confirmed. Matt, they spoke about some 8,000 persons were confirmed. Who were those 8,000 persons confirmed? Were they labor rights? Matt, we heard the recital of Roosevelt's carrot, and it has always been that he has the right to call elections at the whims and fancies because the Constitution allows him to do so. But it's the same Constitution that says that the registration process should be continuous. Matt, if this man was a good leader, a good prime minister, Matt, he would not be just concentrating on the part of the Constitution that gives him the right to call election when he wants to, but he would be upholding the other part of the Constitution that says that registration is continuous. But apparently he does not care a damn about the Dominican people. His actions aside in the snap elections that he called all the time to disenfranchise the Dominican people. And that is why that Dominicans have to stand up and they have to make the matter a serious issue, a serious matter. It's not just en passant, treat it like a bubble. And it's just taking time to heal. No, it's not just taking time to heal. That is Roosevelt's carrot who has created that bubble, that posse or purulent bubble in the Electoral Commission, where they cannot, and the registration of the young people will not happen. Matt, people need to do better than that. People need to stand up and open up their eyes and make that issue the most important issue, because I don't care how many people turn out in those rallies and those meetings. If they cannot register to vote, it means nothing. Thank you, Matt.
The attack. Always not like that, and we don't like that. Kind of action. Under his leadership, we cannot stop anymore.
Yes, Mark, I support this young lady that just finished talk there. Just go and vote, go and confirm or reconfirm office communion, whatever, and go and vote. Vote out the man. That's why it is. It ain't no fighting, nothing, Vote out the man. Matt, I cannot say since last when I hear Dominica breaking news, a factory is coming for citrus. Matt, what Scary really do with Dominica money, Matt? Build an airport? No, not no airport. Scary don't build airport if the money Dominica can get. What he do? Build houses? He don't build house. He build huts. He build gangster thing. That them things Papi show. American style. What Scary really do with the money? Dominica sad, we Matt. But Dominica sad things hard. The country, I was there, man. The place rough, the man. Ain't no joke. My beautiful Dominica. I love beauty. I love splendor. Lord Jesus Christ. Papa Boji.
Somebody says, Matt, I foresee a revolution. Roosevelt will not bow out of the play game. Truthfully, we the opposition should start getting ready. No election should be called in the way Roosevelt Scarrett wants it. Roosevelt tries to steal the election in the broad daylight, so it is really true. This man was stealing all the time, all along. Scarrett must go. That's a WhatsApp message. 2:45. We'll go back to the telephones in a minute. Let's try to see if we can get more voice notes and go on. Yes.
In spite of everything people talking about, crowd and group of people and to go on reconfirm, it's already wrong in what happening, right? Because there are people that are customer registering people. They're genuine people that call customer registering people. Where are those people? When you tell me you have the people who registering, who reconfirming people, is that hard labor rights, right? So you can put all crowd and all crowd you have. Is after everybody go, they still can make their commerce, right? It is wrong because in my community is what die hard labor right, right? If you see a color there and you tell them what color, the only thing they see in the eyes is red. So there's nothing that is right about that thing. That thing's supposed to just crush, finish, and let's go back to re-registration, right? All the young people, all no people should be registering. People are not registering now. A lot of young people want to register. Talk about re-registration. For what? Reconfirm for what? Huh? If I have to reconfirmation, I go and I give you my ID and that is me. I have to bring somebody. For what? That is wrong. Understand what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter what amount of people, it's already wrong. If you want to have a thing like you have to have genuine people, or you have a diehard labor right and a diehard UWB supporter, and a genuine person in the mix, right? A person that have no political thing. Doesn't matter who they have in their mind, but when come for those things, they are honest people and they stand by honesty. That's it. It is wrong. It is wrong and it's just no good. Not good at all.
It's a shame. It's a shame. It's a shame. It's a shame. The way we got to take control in the end. It was twice. When you know why the other countries going more than we? Never once on the attack. I was just like that. And you know it goes like that. Kind of hardship. Under this leadership, we cannot stop anymore. See somebody hold him. Just hold him. Hold him. The man that's been for too long, but making no flow. Somebody hold him. Just hold him. The man that's been for too long, but making no flow. All we do is choking.
The telephone has not stopped ringing there. Hello, talk to me on the telephone. Are you there? Yes.
Yes, good afternoon, Matt.
Good afternoon to you, sir.
Matt, is that a new trend now? When you go to Social Security, if your shirt is white, they cannot take a photo of you. Is that another work on the development of that same reconfirmation business?
I don't know if it's so though. I mean, in terms of the colors, when you take pictures, they prefer bright colors. The white does not give you a good reflection when you take pictures.
But listen, Matt.
Yes.
Did they ever inform you? I hear you posting the Social Security all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I never heard that. They never mention a thing like that to us at all. Is that another one that is not wrong our clothes?
I'll call Social Security to ask them again. I think it's a picture thing when you take picture is white, does not reflect the colors, the light is not proper. But I can confirm with the Social Security, okay? I don't want to make this a controversy here. 250 is the telephone, the time. Yes, good afternoon to you.
Mark,
Yes?
next time I'm like, cannot believe I could go on the line up. Anyway, though I'm not feeling well, but Mark, I'm angry in the country, man. But what kind of country we have here now? Who is scared of doing things? Mark, you know, not two people are calling me to tell me, next I come out, I go and look where they send me to go and confirm or reconfirm. I don't know what they're talking about, eh? When we go there, they tell me the name, now they go back, then they tell them go to that other person. And Mark, if you know the caution that is going on, it is a crime. If Mr. Nassif didn't come here and talk and write a letter, Mr. Nassif love you, thank you, sir. Dominicans just sit down and nobody not talking. Mr. Nassif, Pastor Rodney, and Mr. Joel, you have to come together and so long with all the politicians to save this country. We not in Labu, we just not in it. I am angry, I've never been that like that. Because the country's Iona, Matt, I am not happy. We need to do something about it. No, I'm vexed. I serve my country too much to be in a matches. Oh, but stay there to go then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye.
It's a shame. It's a shame. It's a shame. The way we got take control in the end. It's quiet. When you know why the other countries going more than we. Never was on the attack. Always not like a rat. And you know we don't like that. Kind of hardship. But there is leadership. We cannot stop anymore. Somebody hold him. Just hold him. The man that's in for too long, but making no stop. Somebody hold him. Just hold him. The man that's in for too long, but making no stop. All we do is choking, making noise, making nothing. The man that's been for too long, but making no stop. See that Mark my words, mark my words, mark my words, mark my words. The batsmen that we have, better than them. Oh yeah, it's more of a thing. See when it's here, we get not go be the same, no more again. Why the only in stress? Take she out of the darkness. She needs some happiness. So let the people choose a new thing to represent them again. Somebody hold him, just hold him. The man that's been for too long, but making no stop. Somebody hold him, just hold him.
Let's go back to the telephone. Telephones can't just. I'm not stopping here. Inundated there with phone calls. Are you there, caller? Yes.
Hello, you listening?
I'm right here, sir.
Let me tell you, let me add the program. Last night, there was a very good program last night at Global View.
Yes,
very excellent program. Except that they gave very little time for public reaction to the program. But I wanted to tell the program that and we were talking about the Constitution of Dominica. And I wanted to tell them that the preamble of the Constitution forms part of the Constitution. And that it deals, the Constitution deals with the registration of voters. The registration of voters, which is continuous. The Constitution of Dominica never stopped speaking. It always speaks. The only time the Constitution stops speaking is when the Constitution itself imposes an emergency, state of emergency on the country, and certain parts of the Constitution is suspended. So that the registration of new voters is constitutional and it is continuous, it never stops. So the Election Commission cannot say they suspend the registration of new voters. And another thing I wanted to say to the panelists, who organized the panelists, is that what was missing was a young person from the panelists. Somebody from the state college or somebody from the youth council, is it? National Youth Council?
Yes.
Should have been part of the program to hear the views of these young people. But again, I want to congratulate the panelists and the program, and I think it should be repeated. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I'll make a note of that. Mr. Gregoire and his team last evening, excellent program. 449-3095-96 and 97. Dominic, over here. And
It's the shame. The way we can take control in the end. When you know why the other countries going more than we. Never once on the attack. Always not like Baccarat. And you know we don't like that. Kind of hardship. Under this leadership, we cannot stop anymore. See somebody hold him. Just hold him. The man that's in for too long, but making no stop. See somebody hold him. Just hold him. The man that's in for too long, but making no fall. All we do is choking, making noise, making nothing. The man that's in for too long, but making no sound.
all right, Dominic, right after, you'll hear the second song of Nashal in 2026. I know you guys have been looking forward, and of course, you'll join us tomorrow morning. Everybody wants to hear that one day from Nashal. She made the finals. You haven't heard the song. We'll hear it first on cue before we go.
Not my words.
So stay tuned for the second song of Nashal before you go. All right, so stick around, Dominic, after this. Q95, big song in the afternoon. Karma never forgets.
The good book says, choose of good men who fear God until the end. The right that should defend every corner of society, politics, church, and in the family. We should have protection against all exploitation. We divorce you as employee. Every month you get in your big salary, but to do your duty while you acting the young lady to suck your lolly. Yes, fool what you do. I'm warning you. I'm warning you. Because my mother is watching, and that man not joking, all evil forces will end up on their knees. We keep still and pray, still and pray, and more relax, because karma never forget an address. All the wrong you do, that's what you will get. It's time to treat people with respect. When they do not hold you, you will regret.
Karma never forgets.
There are some evil men who love to abuse women, kick them, punch them, whip them, not touching young children, mental and sexual abuse, leave them traumatized and confused. Some of them like program zombies. In their roots, so the public will not see. And then we have pedo, criticizing pedo in church every Sunday and putting on a show. The moral police, that they're evil and not beneath. They still secret. Careful what you do. I'm warning you. I'm warning you. Because my father is looking, and that man not looking, all evil forces will end up on their knees. We just have to pray, and worry less. Because karma gets an address. All the wrong you do, that's what you will get. You need to treat women with respect. When the judgment comes, you will regret.
A big song there from Marlon Girodell. Second number, Nasha.
We have Lithuania, a big veteran in a competition. So welcome everyone in their kind of chat that was. prefer. Instead they show you the way. They want you to run away. Is it fear or is it jealousy? You call me writer, I don't wanna be. But you should lift up, don't discourage. Next time you come on the stage, careful what you do. I'm warning you, because God go like a flea, and He will protect me from evil forces and their bad deeds. All I do is pray. All I do is pray. 'Cause everything blessed. Oh, remember, karma, karma. Never forget and I try. All the wrong you do, that's what you will get. It's not to treat people with respect. One day, one night, I will get.
A big second song there for Nashal 2026. Oh boy, you want a second? All right, somebody wants it again. I'll play it again before I go. Okay, but let's do this and come back, Dominica. This is Q95 in the afternoon. I'll give it to you in a little while. So stick around. Let's do this first. No, this one. What's going on? Come on.
Yes, dominant in the case of quarters and semis thus far in 2026. Formerly of the Boom Williamsons, Lapo Coming Band, and lead vocalist of the Swinging Stars, Danny Chess.
If your roof leaking and your bed wetting, fix it, change it.
Danny Chess. Go live on Creole Handling this Friday, February 6th, 10:45 a.m. on Q95 FM. Joining him will be the leader of the Caribbean's longest-serving body man, Peter Later of the Mighty Swinging Stars, as he reflects on the band's contribution to Calypso in Dominica for over 60 years. Also, the stand-up 10 created in 1971. Join Ambassador Prince Radix Chance on Q95 FM, the big session, this Friday, 10:45 a.m. as we feature Danny Chess after mesmerizing the Calypso field en route to the grand finals in 2026. And Peter Later, leader of the Mighty Swinging Stars, Creole Habits, the cultural heart of the nation.
You asked for your mass camp in 2026, so we got it fixed. It's a mass camp open house every Thursday in this carnival season at the Lot in Wallacefield. Jam time, 8 p.m. sharp. Let's have one and take pleasure in some of the new 2026 Calypsos. We are meeting you halfway with only $10. $10 for entry. Featuring 2026 Calypso finalists and your usual mass camp family. Come on, come on. Let's speed up at the Lot in Paulsville this Thursday, 8 p.m. sharp, with good parking, good Calypso, and good ambiance. Expressing gratitude to Q95 FM Radio, Luxurious Loose, VF Inc., DNO, Singola Bloomquist Williams Law Chamber, Comsi TV, Glenn Ducre Law Chamber, Vibes Radio, Joshua Francis Law Chamber, The Lot Bar and Grill, Caribbean Paradise Realty, and Crumbs Bakery.
If you better leave it all next year. The good book say, choose a capable man who fear God until the end. Right should defend every corner of society, politics, church, and in the family. We should have protection against all exploitation. We are the boss, you are the employee. Every month you get in your big salary, but to do your duty while you acting the young lady, to tuck your lolly. Careful what you do. I'm warning you. I'm warning you. Because my father is watching, and that man not joking or evil forces will end up on their knees. We keep still and pray, still and pray, and more relax, because hammer, never forget an address. All the wrong you do, that's what you will get. It's time to treat people with respect. When they don't hold you, you will regret. There are some evil men who love to abuse women, kick them, punch them, whip them. Stop touching young children. Mental and sexual abuse. Leave them traumatized and confused. Some of them like program zombies. In their beauty so the public will not see. And then we have pedo, criticizing pedo in church every Sunday and putting on a show. The moral police, that they're evil and not finished. Secret. Careful what you do. What you do. I'm warning you. Because my father is looking, and that man not looking, all evil forces will end up on their knees. We just have to pray and worry less. Because hammer, never forget an address. All the wrong you do, that's what you will get. You need to treat women with respect. When the judgment comes, you will regret. We have Lithuania, a big veteran in a competition. So welcome everyone in their kind of charter world. They're playing like unreal. Instead they show you the way. They want you to run run away. Is it fear or is it jealousy? You call me writer, I don't wanna be. But you should lift up, don't discourage. Next time you come on this day, careful what you do. I'm warning you. Because God go like a flea, and He will protect me from evil forces and their bad deeds. All I do is pray. All I do is pray. 'Cause everything blessed. Oh, remember, come never forget the track. All the wrong you do, that's what you will share. It's not to treat people with respect. One day more naughty I will share.
This is for me in the afternoon, Dominica. Until tomorrow.
Yesterday has come and gone, leaving some of us to mourn. Times we had and friends we lost, and while nature took its course, we have seen the many faces of slavery. We have seen the British Empire fall. We have seen Hitler's contribution to history. We have seen the rise and fall of the Berlin Wall. We have seen famines. We have seen wars. As you well imagine, we have seen nothing yet because in time to come, America will have a black president. In time to come, there's going to be an active world government. In time to come, the world will see human life cheaper than dirt. In time to come, from outer space, aliens will land on the earth. Team Africa will win the World Cup. Marijuana will sell in the shop. Science will produce bread out of stone and then create the first human clone. Technology will reach a new high. Buses and cars will fly in the sky. Trinidad will make a nuclear bomb. In time to come. In time to come. In time to come. Go down there. Well, Papa lo polo, papa la la. Bala balo bo bala lele. Moving from the dark ages, man has progressed in stages. Through the stone and iron age, till we turn another page. And we saw the adventures of Alexander, waging war in his obsession for conquest. Inventions like the chariot and the saber, the weapons that put Europe under duress. Mankind achievements sometimes were great, and his glorious moments mark the passage of time, but wait. In time to come, mankind will have a colony on the moon. In time to come, this calypso will be a top 40 tune. In time to come, scientists will synthesize silver and gold. In time to come, people will have real sex by remote control. The first dead man will come back alive. Cancer and AIDS victims will survive. Babies will born with mustache and beard. Penis and kidneys will be repaired. The government will ban cigarette. Breakfast and lunch will be a tablet. A 2-year-old will split the atom. In time to come. In time to come. One more time. In time to come. For this new millennium, mark my word, it was some strange thing what. So we're going to see that. Bala logo, bala lele, bala. That day when the right brothers, after tremendous horrors, got their little plane to soar, all of mankind stood in awe. Just like when that great scholar Benjamin Franklin discovered what would be electricity. And again, when Sir Alexander the Kingpin give the world the first telephone company. But all of that is a drink of rum in our drinking glasses, compared with what is still to come. In time to come, an asteroid will destroy New York City. In time to come, California will submerge under the